Now we're going to get into how to turn each homeowner's fear into a trust building post. Now, I mentioned before how homeowners don't hire based on price, right? They usually hire based on trust. Every review reveals the exact fears homeowners have before they choose a contractor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to turn those fears into trust building posts that can make homeowners feel safe hiring you. Because everything else is cool. Everything else helps you grow. Everything helps you get the engagement, which it's just as important as this. I see contractors, they create content, it goes viral, does pretty well, but it never relates back to who their target audience is. It doesn't matter that you post 100 times in a month, but if it's nothing strategic, if it's nothing speaking to the homeowner, then you're not approachable. So I'd rather always tell a contractor to post strategic content, even if it means 30 pieces of content versus posting 100 pieces of content, even though it might perform well because you saw somebody else post a little dumb video of a paintbrush being painted in the corner. Like, you can post that, just don't make that your strategy. Why do homeowner fears matter? They matter because they're afraid of being overcharged, ghosted, disrespected, or disappointed. And most contractors completely ignore these fears and just post projects. You can go right now to a contractor and probably find a couple negative reviews, right? Reviews reveal fears in the customer's own words. You don't have to get it out of them. You don't have to ask them about it. They reveal it when they leave a negative comment because that's the fastest thing that they're going to do versus trying to leave a positive comment. So fear-based content builds trust faster than any job site content ever will. I'm going to break down what to look for and how to identify fear inside of reviews. So what you want to look out for is words that describe like hesitation, something about nervousness, unsure, worried, skeptical, didn't know who to trust. They mention bad experience that they've had. They mentioned things that they thought could go wrong, small details they appreciated that revealed fears, any point where a customer says, we were afraid that. And so your job is to pull that fear out and turn it into a message that reassures the next homeowner. This is the formula that you're going to use. You're going to name the fear, you're going to show how you solved it, and then you're going to turn your solution into a promise for future customers. So for example, if you was to see a review that says, we were worried the contractor wouldn't communicate, then you turn that post that says, most homeowners are afraid of being left in the dark. That's why we update you daily and explain every step in advance. You're taking their fear and transforming it into a trust promise. These are a couple formats here that you can use. Fear to solution post. So you're going to talk about what the homeowners are scared of, followed by how we prevent that. Format number 2 is the behind the scenes process post. So use fear to show the process that removes it. Format number 3, the comparison post. Format number 4 is going to be a storytelling post, talking about the story of a customer who had that fear and how you changed their experience. Format number 5, a trust promise post. Take your solution and turn it into a standard you follow on every project. I love actually creating a lot of those. Format number 6, a tip or educational post. So teach homeowners how to avoid that fear when choosing a contractor. This is very good for positioning. And format number 7, the review breakdown post. So highlight the fear from the review and show what you did to fix it. And remember, we can do this as just using text overlay content with a trending audio, or we can actually be speaking about this. And I have a whole separate video on my YouTube channel breaking down the best way to create this content. How do you make this a repeatable system? Collect all the fears that you constantly hear about, see, or read, and put it into a simple list. You're going to start noticing patterns: communication, pricing, cleanliness, timeline, professionalism. These patterns become your content pillars. They have to be your content pillars on what your brand stands on, because every fear becomes a trust building post that positions you as the safer choice. Start with one review today. And if you don't have any, I want you to go to your competitors and go find those negative comments, or go find even the positive one, because sometimes there's homeowners who leave detail-oriented reviews that speak about the fears. And I want you to keep building off of these content pillars. So if communication is one of those patterns that you always notice, how many times can you talk about communication in many different ways? Same thing with pricing, cleanliness, timeline, professionalism, because it doesn't matter if you've already spoken about this. What matters is that you're creating content for a new audience anyways. So don't always say things like, oh, we've already talked about this in our last post. Oh, we mentioned this a couple videos ago. Like, forget using that language and just build off of what you come up with the next day and the next day of each piece of content pillar that you're going to be talking about. Forget what you created yesterday, 2 days ago. If it has to do with communication, you're going to be always talking about these things and just saying it in a different way based off of your mood, off of new experiences, whatever's happening in that moment. Don't worry about you're talking too much about communication. Don't worry about you're talking too much about pricing. Don't worry about cleanliness. Don't worry about any of that. You're always creating content for new audiences every single time.